How's it going, ladies and gentlemen? My name is Joshua Arce, Joshua Reviews, Movies, and More, and today we are going to be talking about a movie that we've been anticipating since 2023, since the announcement, really 2022, since the announcement of this movie over the course of 3 years. Superman, directed by James Gunn himself, the co-CEO of DC Studios, written by the man himself. Let's go ahead and get into it. So, this will be a spoiler review. Basically, what that means is there are going to be little, I'm going to do a segment where I'm spoiler free, and then I'm going to do a segment where I'm not spoiler free. But anyway, I just want to take this time to make sure that you all are subscribed and leave a like on the video. I know this is my first review in a hot minute, and I am so sorry. I meant to do my Thunderbolts review. That wouldn't get uploaded. It was just a whole thing. So, Superman is the first review that I will be doing in a long, long time. But that being said, I'm going to go ahead and get into this review. So, getting into the movie. It sort of starts out a little bit like Star Wars. It gives you a little context to the universe and what's been happening over the course of centuries and decades. And then we start the movie, right? And what I say to that is, very interesting decision. But what I also say to that is, they don't really give any context as to how the DCEU ended and how the DCU started, right? They just sort of throw you in there, and it's just sort of just weird, right? And another thing I want to talk about this movie is, the editing is really weird, okay? This is probably the most odd-looking DC movie I've seen in a hot minute. The visuals can be great at times, but in terms of the editing, it was just very choppy, and it was just very weird. And there was a report a while back that this was going to be a movie, and it was basically just going to be like a day of the life in Superman's life. You know, every scene would be like a new day in Superman's life, and it would basically just be a week of Superman, right? And you could definitely tell that that was cut out and wasn't really received well by test audiences, because there are times where the screen will literally go black and then we'll start up back at the, at wherever we're picking up at, you know? It's just weird stuff, you know? Just really odd editing choices. Another thing I want to talk about are the visuals. The Fortress of Solitude, everything looks fantastic. Everything looks great, right? But, again, some visuals were looking meh, right? Like the CGI was not complete at all. And then some scenes was like, oh my god, like what am I looking at? This is so beautiful. And then next scene would be like, meh. You know, like, the movie doesn't really know what what it's wanting it to be, which is another thing I want to talk about, is James Gunn, if you are watching, for the love of God, let the emotional and dramatic scenes play out. You don't need to insert a joke every 5 seconds, right? This was my major fear going into this movie, because I thought it was just going to be all joke, and really taking nothing seriously. There are serious scenes in this movie, right? But the movie was just also very silly, didn't want to take itself seriously at times. It was just really weird. Another thing I want to talk about is Krypto, and I think James Gunn relied way too heavily on Krypto for the comedic scenes and everything. My little brother enjoyed it. He laughed the heck out of it, which is really the whole point of the movie, right? But also at the same time, it's like, you can take a little bit of a chill pill, right? Like, you can relax. Like, if you need to, go to therapy for that, right? Like, if humor is how you cope with things, and you're just putting that onto your other characters, because we even saw that in the Guardians movies, which I love, but also at the same time, it's weird. Another criticism that I have, and then I'll start getting more into my positives, is James Gunn has a problem of having his actors yell on top of each other, and it is really annoying because that's not how human beings would talk in the first place. It's just like really weird. Like, it's okay every now and then, but like if it's every single scene where a character gets upset and he's starting to yell and everything, it's just weird. Like, you don't need to do it every 2 seconds. Also, another thing, and then I'll get into my positives, is that the score by John Murphy is great, but in a thematic sense, it's kind of mid. You know, John Murphy does a great job. He revamps the Williams theme. It's great, but it is definitely not a memorable score, to say the least. But again, congratulations to John Murphy and David Fleming for doing their job on that movie. They did what they could with the movie and with what they were given, and it was great. Getting into my positives, the visuals I was talking about earlier, they look meh, but the Fortress of Solitude in particular and that whole just set looks so natural and real, and it just looks amazing. Like, I love how they actually went to Norway and filmed scenes there and like made it all practical, because you could tell it was, and you could feel as if you were in the Fortress of Solitude, and it was just amazing. Now, I know some scenes in the Fortress of Solitude were filmed in Atlanta, but it was still just amazing to look at and to just take in, because I was like, oh my goodness. Also, getting into performances. Alright, my video cut out, storage, that whole shebang. If it happens again, I'm so sorry. So I'm gonna try and make this quick. David Cornsweet is an amazing Superman, brilliantly cast. I know Warner Brothers back in 2019 were trying to get him for the role, and it turned out to be really, really great. And he did a fantastic job with the character. Rachel Brosnahan is great with Lois. Nicholas Hoult is I don't really know what Hoult was trying to do with Luthor, but it worked in a way, and he did a great job, and he was a menacing villain, and you could feel his hatred for Superman through the screen. What we really need in movies now are just D1 haters, you know? Like, stop giving people a backstory and just freaking let them be a hater, you know? And then, you know, Eddie Cathegi as Mr. Terrific really stole every scene, which is what everyone is saying, and it's true. He did a fantastic job. Nathan Fillion did such a great job playing an asshole. Let's see, playing a jerk. Isabella Merced, the beautiful woman who I've had a crush on since I was like 10, did a fantastic job as Hot Girl. She was a little weird though, not gonna lie. Don't know what Gunn was trying to do with her. Kind of feel bad for her in a way, but it's alright. She still did great. Mom, Pa Kent, the scenes in there were great, but they also felt as if they were like shoehorned in to like give the movie a more emotional balance. There is a scene in this movie with Pa Kent and Clark where I did almost try and I was holding back some tears just a little bit. And that's what James Gunn is capable of. And yeah, overall, this movie is like a 7.5 out of 10, in my opinion. Fun, go see it with friends and family. It's great. Getting on the spoilers is your spoiler warning. There are computer hacking monkeys in this movie. There are things that Gunn changes to the Superman lore which are genuinely disgusting. There are things in this movie where I just wanted to claw my eyes out, like with every single joke and with like, you know, I'm not just laying around, I'm doing important stuff. I'm like, bro. By the way, my whole theater was laughing and they even clapped at the end of the movie, but like, oh my god, it was again and again and again, and it was starting to get overwhelming and just not fun at times. I literally sat in the theater like this half the time because the jokes were just like, what are we doing? Like, why do we keep doing this? And again, the editing is just weird. We go from Lex's team setting out the kaiju at night, and again, the screen cuts to black, and we open back up to Superman literally stopping the kaiju's foot. Right? Like, it's just the weirdest editing ever I've seen in a movie, and I hope they fix that. Like I said, there are computer hacking monkeys in this movie. It's freaking weird. All the leaks that you saw on social media are true. The hashtag super shit, everything is true. Somehow Gunn makes it work within the context of the story, but also it just wasn't needed. Jor-El literally tells Kal-El to impregnate every single woman he comes across and to basically enslave humanity. Which, by the way, Jor-El is played by Bradley Cooper, which I think is hilarious, but it works. Like, it's just freaking weird. Like, the whole movie was weird, it was wacky, it was goofy, but somehow you still managed to have a good time by the end of it, and was like, that's not too bad. Like, definitely not as bad as I thought it was gonna be, but it was still not great. Like, no. And like I said, everyone in this movie does a great job. And there are scenes in this movie with Jimmy Olsen where I was just like also wanting to claw my eyes out, because since when did he become a ladies' man? He's not particularly a ladies' man in the comics, I don't think. So that was kind of weird, and his connection with Eve Tessmacher, just like freaking weird. It was just weird. And the whole stuff with Ultraman was interesting. But how Lex was literally able to control him and everything was just subpar. And the way they sort of use Krypto in those scenes is really interesting and intriguing. And again, Krypto's causing havoc to Lex Luthor, which I found that scene hilarious, by the way. Seeing Nicholas Hoult being dragged around like a rag doll was hilarious. Yeah, it was interesting, to say the least. So yeah, this movie, like a 7.5 out of 10. It was a fun watch. Go see it with friends and family. Go form your own opinion on it. And I've been very skeptical of James Gunn these past 2 years. You can go look at my past videos. I have not been on his side at all. Still wanted to see a Man of Steel 2 and everything, and I still do one day, and I hope that's able to happen. James Gunn, please. But yeah, this movie was definitely, in my opinion, the worst Superman movie out of them all. But it was still a pretty solid adaptation, and David Cornsweet does a great job. And again, that is no offense to James Gunn, David Cornsweet, or the team. That's just my personal opinion, that this movie is the worst Superman movie out of the bunch. I still prefer Man of Steel, which I know some people are going to come at me for. But again, frick you. You know, I love that movie with all my heart. And I will always love that movie with all my heart. So yeah, 7.5 out of 10, fun, go watch it. Yeah, it was fun. Some interesting decisions were made in the movie, but it was overall, it was fun. So I shall catch you all in the next video. Take care and peace. This is going to be an interesting start to the DCU and DC. Looking forward to the next few years. But I shall catch you all in the next video. Take care and peace.